Barrister Marshall Abubakar was relaxing in a high-end hotel against the Turkish skyline. The suite alone cost over $5,000 a night. But Marshall simply couldn't switch off. He had a client back in Nigeria, an activist known online as Justice Crack, who had a highly sensitive bail application coming up. Marshall insisted on packing his bags. His friends begged him to stay. One associate in particular had a bad feeling about how the case was developing at home, warning Marshall that walking into that courtroom right now was walking into a trap. Marshall brushed the warnings aside. He was a professional lawyer who believed in standard legal procedures, confident he could argue the bail application strictly on its merits. His commitment to seeing the case through was admirable. His rivals knew he would fly back to do his job, and they designed an ambush relying entirely on his unwavering sense of duty. Marshall landed back in Abuja, briefcase in hand, ready to argue for his client's freedom. Standard legal protocol for changing representation requires notifying the current lead counsel right here, well before the court date, allowing a smooth document handover. But instead, the notification step is completely bypassed, shoving all pressure onto the last second. Nobody sent a letter. Nobody made a phone call. The organizers maintained absolute radio silence right up until Marshall walked through the courtroom doors. Inside the federal high court in Nigeria, the environment demands absolute respect for procedure. Marshall took his seat, expecting to lead the defense. Without any prior warning, the rival faction stepped forward. They introduced a far more junior lawyer to the judge and declared that this new attorney would be taking over the defense. The judge turned directly to the defendant, Justice Crack himself, asking him to clarify exactly who was representing him on the official record. Instead of defending the man who cut his vacation short to fly across the world for him, the client offered a weak, non-committal answer. He mumbled to the judge, "My lord, they are all my lawyers." Setting up a seasoned barrister to be awkwardly demoted by his own client in front of a federal judge offered zero legal benefit. The goal was public humiliation. Marshall instantly recognized the setup. He saw the board, and he chose to take his own piece off of it. Standing in front of the judge, he formally withdrew his representation on the spot. He gathered his files and calmly exited the proceedings. While his friends might have wanted him to stay and fight the insult, engaging in a screaming match over representation would have played directly into the organizers' hands. Leaving the room stripped the rival faction of their primary target. Marshall refused to validate a rigged, performative stunt with his continued presence. The moment Marshall left, the rival activists didn't focus on securing the defendant's bail. Instead, they rushed straight out of the courthouse to find the nearest cameras. They immediately started giving interviews, spinning a narrative to mock Marshall. Updating the public on the actual legal status of the case was completely sidelined. To understand how detached these activists were from the facts, look at their previous PR stunts. They spent days loudly protesting the Nigerian army, demanding the military release the defendant. The problem is, the military didn't even have him. The defendant was actually in the custody of the Department of State Services, a completely separate civilian intelligence agency. They were shouting outside the wrong building at the wrong authorities. The specific facts of the case were irrelevant, as long as they had an intimidating backdrop to film their content against. These individuals needed proximity to a high-profile, trending topic. Attaching themselves to Justice Crack guaranteed them internet engagement and visibility. It's a stark contrast to genuine digital advocacy. Real online police use their platforms to actively disrupt scams, recover stolen funds, and dismantle propaganda networks. When clout-chasing hijacks a legal defense, the actual person on trial suffers. A competent, seasoned legal strategy was thrown out the window, just so a group of influencers could score engagement points online. A dedicated lawyer was betrayed by his own client, and the pursuit of justice was successfully monetized into a self-serving